Do now ba 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 da da dee ba 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 da da dee ba 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 da da. Do now think positive podcast. Ba 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 da da dee ba ba.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back again to Do Now Think Positive podcast. Now we are at the final session, final interview with our part three. We're discussing about the future. Looking ahead, how do you make sure your 30-year-old company stays strong and does not become old-fashioned? Okay, Mr. Philip, what advice would you give to young business owners here how to grow without burning out? And also, Mr. Wai Yu, what big challenges are you planning? And how do both of you take care of yourself so you can lead with a clear mind and not feel too tired?
I think I can start first in that sense. You might be surprised. My insurance or my plan to be future proof is actually something that's very traditional. I find mentors. I like to meet new people, and whenever I see someone who is a very established business owner who has worked through different challenges, someone like Philip, for example, I will always look to engage different people to become a mentor, whether directly or indirectly. But I get to learn from them, they themselves. What have they done? What have they experienced? What have they explored and tried? And what sort of, like you say, what sort of advice can they impart onto me so that I can maybe not make the same mistakes, or I can make a better version of their success. So that is sort of how I future-proof myself. But in terms of challenges, technology is always going to be a challenge, right? And I think AI, probably some of the edits here might be AI created, but AI is something that is going to come. It's already impacting my industry already. There's something called synthetic data, if you want to look it up. But synthetic data is a challenge in my industry that comes from AI. And if we don't learn how to make use of such tools, we're going to become obsolete. So we need to adapt, we need to learn, definitely need to learn. We need to keep learning, keep educating ourselves and trying to explore and see what other ways can we innovate to create new products. So that's very important.
Yeah, so for me, is sitting beside Wai Yu is a challenge because it's for sure I'm going to retire much earlier than him. So our company will face a different challenges because he has the fortunate of successing from his late father, and he already has the experience. So for him to groom up, maybe his son to take over, he has the experience to do so. For a company like us, we had to train the successor to take over us if we are talking about the next 30 years. But if we are talking about challenges, then I will look at it in two phases. One is that if you look at the total workforce, right now the current workforce, which is the vast majority, are 30 to 45.
Yeah, the millennials make up 70% of the entire workforce.
See, 70% are 30 to 45. So if you're talking about sustaining for the next 30 years or so, then you also have to look at those below 30 years, which are up and coming, because by then they are 40 and 50 years old. So our company, we had two new staff in, and one is late 20s and one is early 30s, and we continue to engage them and hire them. So company cannot have too many age workers because obsolescence, and then of course successions. And we also have to listen to youngsters because being 70%, they are decision maker, be it management, supply chain, and buying. So they are the decision maker. You have to acknowledge that. So that is very important. Second thing is that giving birth from the analog era to the digital, and now with the fast absorption of AI era is so fast. We also have to recognize that it's very important that I always like to go back to cost, because cost base, if you don't get it right, it can be up very fast. So what we felt was that if you were to increase it on an average 8% a year, compounded the next 10 years, it's almost 100%. And where are you going to recover all these so-called costs? One of them is through productivity. And productivity can use the help of AI to rapidly increase and then reduce the cost factors. And that's very important, because if you don't recognize it, don't adapt and change, then your cost will keep rising. That's the reason why the survey is saying that every 5 years you're facing with a deep problem, because costs are going up, like it or not. your workers and your staff that follows you, then will expect increments year after years. Yeah, and where are you going to come from? It had to come from somewhere. And one of the most effective to defray the cost is productivity.
Yeah. The only way to increase profit is to either increase sales or decrease costs. There's no other way around it already.
Right.
And I fully agree with you. I mean, the only way that you can adopt new technology better is to bring in younger talent and to train them, nurture them, take care of them. And you're faster.
They're
yes.
faster.
And I still see myself as a relatively traditional company. I think market research is quite traditional. But now that I'm bringing in new Gen Z staff, I'm seeing how fast they are adopting AI into our business. Nowadays, the Gen Zers, they are able to code an entire program without learning how to code. They just depend on AI, and AI can help them develop new softwares. For the first time in my life, Central Force is now being able to produce softwares. I never once imagined that we can produce software, right? But it's because we are bringing new talent, and we have to train the new talent. I think a lot of the trainers or consultants, they don't get enough attention because they actually play a very critical role in upskilling our talent. So what we do is that we have something called a high potential program, where we select about 6 to 8 young talents that we have, and from there we get a trainer who comes in once a month or twice a month, and they will work and train with this high potential talent. And this helps us prepare for the future pipeline, so that I know that once they are finished with their high potential program, I know that I already have leaders who are ready to take on the next role. So that's how we nurture and prepare and always have continuity in our talent management.
Oh, that is very, very true. So, and if you're talking about 30 years ahead, another challenges will be this world or this country is going to be very crowded. We have population that are increasing.
Yeah.
The world size is not going to increase. So we're going to be a very crowded place. So sustainability is one area that I believe that most country leaders will put very much emphasis on. And that's the reason why our company is going to sustainable packaging, and we felt very strongly. So it's not just for marketing gimmicks, but our shareholders, including myself, we have a very strong belief that while we are making money, we also have to make this planet a better place. So sustainable packaging is a must, because you look at the amount of packaging waste, it's tremendous. It's tremendous. It's one of the vast majority in terms of waste created by packaging. So you use one time and you throw. So sustainable packaging is come, and we strongly believe. And we also encourage most of our suppliers to move along the same journey, going green.
You are moving in the right direction, and also very relevant to today's topic so far, because our survey has shown that the Gen Zers are actually very passionate about sustainability, very passionate about how we. Yeah, it's a good thing. But it's something that you rarely see in older generations.
Absolutely.
I think the millennials started a little bit of it, but not fully. But the Gen Zers adopted. You will look at large companies like your KPMG, Unilever, PNC. These are all companies that everybody said, I want to work here. This is the best company. But now today, they look at these companies, they read their profile. Where's your ESG? Where's your sustainability? You don't do this, I don't consider you. So our research has already shown and proven that the young talent nowadays care about the world, care about sustainability, and they want companies to adopt these practices.
That is really, that's a good sign. That's a good survey also. And I also quite right. It's true, because we can't blame them, because the older generation, especially if we're talking about my parents, during their era, is about bread and butter, to make sure that the family has enough to eat and children go to education. And we are, our generation is to make sure that we build a business and legacy. And the younger generation, they are so different. Their thinking are different. Yeah, I agree with you. They will be more attuned to sustainability, and I think it's a good thing also.
Yeah.
Apart from making money, making your office look nicer, you should to also care for the planet to be better.
Yeah.
That is absolutely.
Okay, we are coming in to the end of the show. Let's hear your final thoughts.
So I think for me, what's important is that we all need to work towards having a company that is sustainable and can last and go through and handle the different storms that will come. Because I think in the past 30 years, many things have happened. We've looked at the dot-com bubble. We've looked at the Asian financial crisis. We've had COVID. We've had 9/11. We have the wars going on now. There are so many storms and issues that happens, and it's unpredictable. You don't know when these things will happen, right? But what's important is that for us as business owners, we need to prepare our organization, our company to have the right systems, the right processes, and the right strategies that will allow the company to exist in the long run, right? Being able to have people, a team who is independent and innovative will allow you to constantly create new revenue streams. But at the same time, if you don't care and nurture your people and your team, then they're not going to stay with you, right? So we have to look at many different aspects. I think a lot of people say, oh, being a boss is so nice, you just shake leg, collect money. But a lot of people fail to realize what are the different thoughts and concerns that happens in a day-to-day for a boss. So those are the things that we have to look at, and we have to ensure that we continue to learn and innovate ourselves.
Yeah, thank you, Fendi, for this very interesting, I would say, mini series, because we talk about the past. Then we also the current and present challenges, then the future challenges. So one thing in common, which I like to summarize, is that if we're talking about the past, from the very beginning, I always say that get your cost base correct. Because once your cost base is correct, you just have to make sure that your cost is enough to weather the challenges longer than your competitors or most companies. So give you some extra knowledge. And the series number 2, we're talking about the current challenges, which I say that not only just your customer, your supply chain, your supplier are also part of your partner. You have to treat them as very key importance, because your supplier and your customer, if you put equals wastage, I think you have a balance. So that is how I sum it up for series 2. And for the series 3, talking about future, we can't ignore AI and so on. But one thing is important is that you as a business owner, you really need to adapt and must have the guts in you to make the final decision. Yes, let's do it, because prolonging is killing, procrastination is going to kill you. So I would say that adaptation. But throughout the whole journey, challenges is going to be very easily replicated. So I felt that the only way, one of the way I would say, one of the very creative way is that be innovative. Yeah, in terms of processor, design, everything, just be as innovative that you can anchor yourself, because otherwise you are no different from the others. So you are just like a commodity, one of many. So you want to sustain for the next 30 years, there's an advice I can give you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much again. So please subscribe, follow, and comment us, and do now, think positive.